That's just how it is. All right, ready to go. Okay, so after a good hour of floundering with different options for practicing this next terminal customization stuff with the group that'll all laugh, if you want, you can go back and watch it. Um, uh, hey, I learned how to mount volumes. Time well spent. Yeah, if you learn how to mount volumes, so and we're all having fun because we went through the whole thing and I realized this is way too much for most beginners. I don't want to do this, but we learned how to mount volumes, and you're going to learn how to mount volumes. Don't you fret. But when I originally decided that we were going to use containers for learning, all along, the primary option was going to be, we were going to start with a fresh Ubuntu container. That way, if you screw up the configuration, which I guarantee you will do, then you won't mess up your computer. You won't mess up your WSL2. You won't mess up your Mac or whatever you're using. If you got Linux installed, you're not going to mess up your base Linux OS. Everyone messes configuration up. We're going to be breaking paths, and all of a sudden all the executables are going to go away. And by using a container, we're just going to laugh at that, because a container doesn't care. A container can just be written off, and you can start a brand new one, or you can have 10 of them going if you want. Yeah, and you delete your DAW files, right? So after like an hour of considerations about how we could do this best, I came back to the original idea, but I at least want to mention these other options, okay? So, by the way, by mentioning these other options, did you blow up your lip? See, you guys, you see, you know the pain I'm talking about here. Containers to the rescue for your learning pleasure, right? Because you can go do whatever. So the number one way that I'm going to do this is we're going to create a persistent container, which is kind of breaking the rules of containers. Containers are meant to be able to throw them away at any time and recreate them. And there's you're not supposed to have state. Screw that. We're going to use the stateful nature of containers for learning, and then we're going to transfer that learning over, and you're going to be able to take all those things and put them other places, into your notes, into your dot files and stuff like that. And your container is just the container that we're keeping around for a while is still temporary. Ultimately, we're going to throw it away in a month or so, right? We're going to chuck it. We don't even need it anymore, because we'll have moved all those other files, and you'll gradually added this stuff in a nice, safe way over to your main stuff. And by the way, this process that we're going through is exactly the same process you should follow in the enterprise. If you are just loosey-goosey changing stuff on your base production systems, in your case, your production system is your computer. You shouldn't be changing stuff willy-nilly there to test it. You should consider that your production system, your production environment, and your container is going to be where we're going to test stuff out. It's kind of your sandbox where you're learning. And then you're going to find things and you're going to test them. You're going to stage those changes. And then you're going to say, okay, I am confident with this particular line or change. And you copy that over, even from the terminal, who cares? And you put that change into your base system if you want to, but that's not a part of the boost. Eventually you'll do that. But at the end of the boost, near day whatever, like 60 or something, we'll be talking about how to put Linux on your own hardware and all that stuff. And all this stuff you learn from this containerization, these foibles that you've done, will all of a sudden make sense, because now you'll know exactly what to put there. It'll all be nice and safe in a GitHub repo, and you can pull it down and know that you're not going to kill yourself. Okay. So I screw up by installing Linux a dozen times. Yeah, people have done that too. Well, so the only thing containers get you here is they get you the ability to install a half dozen times very quickly. You can iterate very quickly on that. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start again. I said at the beginning of the video, and I'm going to say it again. If you're a container Nazi, and that's an affectionate term, just understand that we are going to be reattaching to the same container on our computers over and over and over again for the course of the boost. And we're going to be changing stuff within that container on purpose. We're not going to poke any holes or bind mounts or anything into that container yet. Right now, we're just using that container as a sandbox to practice our configuration. All right, is that enough said? So we have another 15 or 20 minutes to go over this, and then I just want to review the overview of the terminal. Today's boost is going to be shorter than usual because of that. But it was this comment. I actually installed on a VM before doing a dual boot on my PC. Yeah. a lot of people, okay, so let's talk about the previous ways to do this. These are the ways that I've done over the years, including last year. So booting Linux from a USB stick isn't a thing you can do. You could just go ahead and install Linux on hardware. The reason we're not doing that, I talked about it that early in the boost, the first 5 or 6 days of the boost, I talked about why we're not doing that. The reason we're doing that is because it derailed the boost by at least a month last year, because everybody was talking about installing and which hardware, and it took them forever to get a system that was working, and then they couldn't connect, and they would blow it away because they would screw around with their configuration, so they have to reinstall Linux. Reinstalling Linux takes a while. I mean, it's not that long, but it's like a good full hour, and if you screw up with a container, you just start a new container. It's not that big a deal. Okay, so we have learned from these other methods. Another way to do this, if you're just practicing with configuration, is to create a new user on your same system. So if you're on a Windows machine or you're on a Mac, it's pretty easy to make a new user over there. And when you're doing this boost stuff, you can log into that user and make these changes that we're doing to a live system. Just know that it's going to look slightly different. WSL2 is Ubuntu if you want it. If you're doing it on a Mac is not Linux at all. It's BSD Unix. So you're going to run into lots of weird one-off things that are not the same. So if you're on a Mac in particular, I would suggest you stick with a container approach, because then all of us will be using an Ubuntu container that's in the same state, and we can learn the lessons that we need to learn, and then we can take those lessons and apply those individually. We can take those lessons and apply those lessons to our final things that we have in production, whether it be our main account on our laptop or something at work or a desktop or something like that. Okay, so let's jump ahead since we've got a lot to cover. Thanks for the vote of confidence there on the thing. So it's obviously very essential that you know how exercise and learning to drink from a fire hose, at least for me. It is, and that's why I want to back away, YGBSM, although you did make the mounts, right? So use hidden, now, and you can stop the video and like redo it and go, what is he talking about there? I mean, that's one of the great things about video, right? If I were doing this live, and I have done this, people are like, they raise their hands, or sometimes they don't raise their hand, and they have nothing to go back to. So at least you can pause the video, go do a search, or go ask in the chat, what's he talking about here? And you guys can figure out stuff. So if I fail to explain something, you can always reach out and pause the video and stuff like that. All right, so use hidden files and directories, no place like home. So know what hidden files and directories are. So I am gonna do a little something different here. All right, let me see if I can do this without confusing anyone. So hard for me. No, we're not looking at that one yet. This is me going through my Docker file for my workspace. So if you have been using my workspace, stop today. Today's the last day you use my workspace. Okay, make your own container. So let's do that. So we're going to start with a fresh container, and to do that, we're going to give it a name. And I don't remember it, so I'm going to have to go do, I think I already did it. Let me see. I have to see Docker ls. Let me see what I have. Whoops. PS, actually. Let's see. I have a bunch of stuff running. This, by the way, is dual streaming. That's Blaze dual streaming, if you want to do it. Containers are good. You can do dual streams with them and stuff. Sweet Beaver. You remembered. Is Sweet Beaver still there? Is Sweet Beaver still there? Is it? Is it still there? Oh, where is Sweet Beaver? No container name Sweet Beaver. Sweet Beaver is gone apparently. Damn. That's it. You have to go back and watch the first container video to understand that inside joke. It was a random name. My container was random named. So I killed my Beaver. Oh God. So Docker dash, I'm like all over the place now. So Docker run dash it, no dash rm this time. Okay. Name Sweet Beaver for the sake of history. You'll never forget it. Look, it was random. It was random. I mean, no offense to those who are more sensitive to such topics. I do not mean to offend any beavers in the audience. So then what? Ubuntu. All right. Now that's going to give it a name and it's going to run it. Actually, if you want, let's do this. I do like to have the host name. So, and I'm going to call I think Boost is already taken, but we're going to go ahead and call the host name Boost. All right. So that's good. Let's do that. So I'm going to save this for time and eternity. I'm going to save it. All right. So, yeah. I'm going to say like restart / attach every time. All right. So, yeah, clear. So we are root, but we don't care, right? We don't care because it's a new container and we can just move on. So what do we got? All right. So what else we got? We got start with a fresh user, jump ahead and install Linux on the hardware. And we talked about that. We're just going to do this one for now. I'm going to put, less, preferred alternatives. All right. But you're the boss of you. So it would be an epic that random Docker selection random beaver. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about hidden files. Let's see if we can get through the rest of this in 10 minutes. I think we can. All right. So when you're on a Linux system, and this is another reason to do, but you know what? The Mac user here really helped us out too, because it didn't work because Mac puts everything in a completely different place. So once again, containers for the win when it comes to learning. So everything that goes into a new user goes into /etc_skill. And inside of this directory are the .dot files. So on Linux, when a new user is created, these files, this etc_skill directory, is duplicated with all of its containing files into /home with the username of the user that you're adding. All right. So, and this is the overview day, so I just want to go over what your system comes with by default. And for you, if you're using a container, you can follow along with me as root and look at them at the same place. But you might compare them to your host system and see you should have these files, something like them in your home directory. So, and that's all about home. So /home is where all these things go. But as you can see, there's nothing here. If I do look at this on this brand new repo, there is a home. Let's go into home. Okay, there we go. So there's a home, but there's nothing here. There's nothing here. There's no users on this brand new system. All right. And so we're going to go back to etc_skill for a second. We're going to add a new user, but we're not going to get to it tonight probably. Because I want to talk about the files that are in here. Now you have to do -A to see the hidden files. You can't -A with ls-a. Some people teach you this, don't use it. Why? Because LA is just an alias. We talked about aliases. We're going to talk more about them. Just use ls-a because that works everywhere. All right. And so the next step is for us to talk about what's in these files. You can only cd forgo to home. Actually, no, it'll do it. See, because root cd by itself always goes home. And people have been doing this, including me, for 40 years. You don't need to. Just do it like that. It'll go home. We talked on that like a long time ago. But so if you're home, then the thing that's curious here is look at where home is for root. Root's home directory is /root. Now, all the users have a home directory under /home. Okay, and we don't have any users on this system yet. We're going to, but I just want to talk about the overview of configuration on the system as general and how things work. So let's go back to etc_skill and ls-a. There's like nothing here. Okay, well that's a hidden file. And in fact, let's talk about hidden files for a second. So there's no place like home. Use hidden files and directories. We've talked about what those are. We're going to continue to use the hidden directory kind of thing. And everybody go out and read up on. We're going to be following the freedesktop.org standard, which is I think it started under the GNOME project at one point. Don't quote me on that, but so freedesktop.org has decided what files should be named in Linux across the board, and I think BSD as well. Anybody confirm that? And you can read the big, long, boring stuff here, but these specifications have now been built in to languages. Go has, when you say user config directory, it uses the standard directory from this. And as we get into this configuration, this where do my files go question comes up a lot. And I just want to let everybody know up front that this has been addressed already. freedesktop.org answers all of these questions. And very few applications follow this, but there's a lot more. So like if you go in, like you probably already see some on your host system right now. See all this stuff here? See all this stuff under .config? Well, that's because that's the default location. See all this stuff under .bin? .local, cd.local. There's stuff in here, bin directory. This is all part of the free desktop stuff. There's also, is it share? No, it's cache. Yeah, there's cache. There's a bunch of them. Now you're probably wondering, well, why doesn't Bash follow that? Well, Bash predates everything, right? So does Vim. These things predate a lot of stuff. It's actually one of NeoVim's only pluses is that it actually puts the configuration files where they belong, because it hasn't been around that much and it's still alpha software. So, so that's what's up with that. But you can read about it. But that's where I just wanted to. I wanted to mention that before we go blasting past it, because you need to know what the freedesktop.org is about and where it comes from. You can go to the XDD specification if you want to, but probably don't. But when I say we're going to put our binary executables under .local/bin and not bin, that's where that comes from. That's part of the specification. For years and years and years, I had a bin directory, right? The Go project for years and years and years had a Go directory in the home directory. Those things have all changed now because everyone's following the specification. They're putting them under .local, whatever, and it's all hidden and makes your desktop, lighter in terms of what's, clutter and stuff like that. All right, so we talked about etc. We looked at the files that are in there. And then there's going to be, when we do our Vim configuration, there's going to be a bunch of files in there. We're going to go through all of that. I'm going to talk about where the tmux configuration files go. And we're going to talk about directory colors, how to set that up with dir colors as an ancient file. And we're going to practice, right now we're just practicing our customization, but I also want to start, first we're just going to configure the thing. We're just going to configure and get it to work. And then we're going to take those configuration files and we're going to move them into a central repo that's on GitHub. Eventually, for right now it won't be, but eventually it will be. And then what? And then we're going to make links to that so that all of our stuff is in one place. Why? So we can back it up, we can version it, we can do all of that thing. I get this feedback all the time from people. They're like, oh my God, why haven't I been symlinking my configuration files all this time? I've been copying them over from something. Well, if you do it that way, then to configure a new system with or without a container is super easy, because you just get on the computer, make a new account, set up Git or GitHub, clone a repo, go into that repo and do .setup, and boom, execute a new shell, and you got your whole entire system just the way you love it, like that. And I've done it many times because before containers, that was the only way to really have a turnkey setup for your OS. I actually did it with the entire Linux configuration for our server for SkillStack, so that if I had to rebuild a SkillStack server, I'd pull down this repo and I would run it, and it would do all of my configurations. It would symlink things, it would make changes to certain directories and stuff. And just by running that one script, I got my environment right away. So I still advocate for that method. I still think it's useful, particularly for hardware. But as you've seen, we don't really go through hardware and operating systems that fast. People watching other streamers and obsessed with distro hopping might benefit from that, but that's not really the way things are done these days. It's through containers, and a container, as we've seen, can contain that, configuration. You just pop the whole thing up. All right, so I just wanted to show you what we're going to be changing here, how we're going to be doing it, and talk about the files that are going to be involved. I'm going to remove mock home. Sorry. We'll cover that another time. So let's go back to Etsyscale then and look into that for a bit. So again, ls-la, we're going to be doing bash tomorrow. So Friday, it's a Friday, but tomorrow we're going to be, for the full 90 minutes, we're going to be doing nothing but bash RC. All right. And that is going to be here. If you want to get a sense of it, it's under days.md. And we'll go to the custom. Okay. So each one of these is a full day. We're going to start with the bash options, variables, and history settings. We're going to talk about colorizing the pager and the directories. We're going to customize the bash shell prompt. We're going to use aliases properly. By the way, if he's watching to Linux tips, kudos for that. He made a fantastic comment on my YouTube about using shell prompt. And so I really, really appreciate our friends from that channel, interchanging. It's one of the reasons that I'm streaming to YouTube now too, as well. Is we got really amazing people on YouTube who are, a part of some of these other channels that I hadn't really had contact with much before. So anyway, we're going to use aliases properly. We're going to know when to export a bash function, understand bash tab completion. Is that the guy? Is that Linux tips? I think it is. I definitely want to put a plug out for now. I haven't seen, completely honestly, Linux tips. I have not seen Linux tips' content, and God knows I love most people's content, but I tend to get blamed for focusing on the things I disagree with. Because then I disagree and they think I'm an asshole for disagreeing, and anyway, we won't get into that drama. It's a Brazilian guy, yeah, he's fun. I mean, there are a lot of fun people out there, and they can be fun and amazing and fantastic, and they can teach you something that would cause you to lose your job. So I'm not saying that's true about Brazilian guy, but please don't take this as a blanket, sign off on everything he tells you to do. You are independent people. You're in charge of your own learning. It's up to you to apply the scientific method and do your own research and ask around from people who have experience that don't make YouTube videos before you make your own conclusions. And that goes for him too. But he had some really great tips that he posted to my one of the videos that I did on the bash prompt. Is a pretty old video. So I actually am encouraged by that, and I'm looking forward to having some healthy interaction with everybody there. So anyway, so these are all going to be one full day. And when I'm talking about day, I'm talking about 60 minutes to an hour. And so that's what's coming. So I thought we'd get you started off we'll wrap up at 8:30. But I did want to conclude with showing you the inside guts. As you can see, there's not much to a system when you first log into it. There's not a user. Most distros will have a user, but you'll even need to add that. But let's look at this file here. And there's no VI on here. So I'm going to let you install VI and do all of that good stuff. Don't add a user yet, though. Okay? Don't add a user. We're going to do that tomorrow. All right. Does everybody remember what to do next? All right. I'll give you 2 commands to do before we leave for the day. One of them is unminimize. Unminimize. Oh, boy. I spelled it wrong. Unminimize. Type that and then go get some lunch or something. Can you type that? Unminimize. All right, I'm gonna put this in my README, and that will be where we'll leave off for today. And I'm gonna clean all of this up. Okay. Okay. So and then we're gonna do use. You already saw this before, but to get started. Yeah, and then we'll look at some of the other stuff. All right, so it's gonna continue. It's gonna say, "Do you want to do more stuff?" Yes. I had a good friend remind me that when you use apt, that it's actually a interactive short form of apt get, and that I actually poked fun at people who still use apt get, and I was wrong. Apt get is still the preferred thing to use when not using interactive mode. It's actually more stable, and because it doesn't it's non-interactive mode. It's even in the unminimize. So you have to type, if you can't remember how to type it like I did, type unmin tab and you'll get it. All right. And what that'll do is I'll get you a system that's running, and you can start doing some things. If you want to do the other thing to do here, and then I'll let you go, right? Apt update. Actually, no, let's do apt upgrade first. Upgrade. So these are the things you need to do. You need to do apt upgrade. You need to do unminimize. You need to do apt upgrade. And you need to do apt update. And then apt install VI. So we're going to be doing lots of that. So I'm going to put them all here. So we're going to say apt update to get latest. And we're doing this Linux. So if I want to make sure you go through this was going to take a while. So let's see, did I put upgrade or update? I mix them up all the time. Calculating grade done. Oh wow, we got the latest. That's cool. Oh no. We need to update first. I'm sorry, I mix them up all the time. So apt update and apt upgrade. Yes, and then apt upgrade. Yeah. I got it wrong. I must have done it. This is really interesting. It looks like it got the latest. That's actually really cool. I think unminimize did it. I want to say unminimize might have done that, but I didn't have to do that. Apt upgrade. Okay, and then let's do let's install VI. It is a new container, right? But I still think it needs to have updates. Apt update updates the repositories. Yes, it does. But first time I had somebody tell me to do the upgrade as well, I was like, why? And he's like, well, you might not have the latest Linux, and he's absolutely right. It's possible that somebody has their container, the Ubuntu container, is out of sync with the latest release. It's possible, but in our case, it wasn't. It just said there's 0 because there's no updates. But it's good to get in the habit of doing that. That, by the way, an apt upgrade, do not do that lightly on your own final system. That can sometimes break a system by trying to do, have you ever tried to upgrade Windows like inline and it doesn't do very well, and then you're like, oh crap, you bricked your machine, you got to reboot it, reinstall it. So the app update you always have to do. So let's install VI, install Vim to install Vim, and that will actually give you your that should give you your tutor and everything else. And see how heavy it is? You can actually do, if you don't want a big one, you can do Vim Lite, I think it is, but I'm fine with it, getting the big one. Upgrade will install newer versions of packages discovered for update. Dist upgrade is the hairy one. Is it dist upgrade? Thank you for that. Yeah, but you kind of need both. So now I have VI, which VI is there. ls-l, which VI you'll see is just it's a link to the alternatives for VI, which is actually Vim. So which Vim, you'll see it's there. And now we're ready to start editing files and stuff. All right, and I think we're going to leave it there for today. I know that's been a short boost for you. The total video has probably only been about 36 minutes long today. There's nothing you can break in here. Go ahead and practice now. Let's show you how to exit out. So there's two ways to exit out. If you don't plan on turning your computer off for a while, or you're just going to sleep the computer, you can just detach from the container. To detach from the container is Control PQ, and that will just break the TTY connection to your running container. It does not stop your container. It's still running. And if you do Docker PS, you'll see it's still there. Where is it? There we go. Sweet Beaver is running. My Sweet Beaver is running. So then, if you installs new updates, yeah, a full upgrade can remove outdated dependencies. Nice. Yeah, I mean, The problem I have is that I often miss these details that these great people are adding because I try to elid, to keep off, to chop off some of the extra data for the beginner. I don't want to overwhelm them. But yeah, so usually just apt update is totally fine, but upgrade will also be good, particularly for a container. So Docker PS, you see it's still running right now. If it weren't running, what do I do? PS-A, and that would show me all the containers I have, some of which are not running anymore. I've got lots of them, right? Probably should clean them up. Be careful. Don't do any cloning or pruning right now, right? It's probably good to just leave your Docker images messy for now, or your containers messy, because you're going to be working with the same one all the time. Now, if I want to reattach to that one, what do I do? So I don't need to do Docker run, so I can do this. I can say Docker attach Sweet Beaver. I can tab it out, and now I'm back in right where I was when I left off. All right. Now, the other way to do this, we talked about this already, but I'm going to show you again, is to just, if you type exit, now it's going to stop the container, and it's not going to be listed anymore. There's no Beaver here. I didn't do this. All right. So Beaver, and then, so it's not there, but if I do the A, you see that it's also not there because I spelled Beaver wrong because I'm an idiot. All right, so it's exited, right? But it's not, it only shows up with A on because why? Because I have to see it's there. So now I see it's there, but it's been exited. So now I can't attach to it, right? If I try that attach, it's going to be like, I can't do this. Cannot do it. Stop. It tells you what to do. Not too hard. Docker start. You think they would just do it for you automatically, but no. You have to do this, and now I'm back in. Okay? So that's it. That's it for tonight. Anybody have any questions really quick before we go? I'm just reading through the comments. On YouTube, I saw we had some visitors. We had Last Miles visit. That's very nice. Thanks, Last Miles, for coming by. And I don't see anything else. Oh, -n. Thanks. Yeah, someone was pointing out the -n doesn't exist. It's --name. Sorry. Does it save the state? Yes. Okay, so the biggest concern people have when they're doing the containers like we're doing is, does it throw away the state every time? And it actually does not throw the state away. The container is essentially frozen and saved to disk. That's a drastic misrepresentation of what it actually does. But I'm telling you, it's safe. The only way your container for the course of this boost would be destroyed is if you explicitly Docker pruned or Docker removed it. That's the only way. So don't do that. And it'll stay with there, and it'll actually be annoying. People that are using Docker are frequently, deleting containers and adding them back and all that kind of thing. And that's why we went down the rabbit hole before I chopped the video about mounting directories and stuff so you can go in there and do stuff. But there's so much other stuff that we're going to be messing with on the system that it's just too hairy to make it into a Docker file right now. So we're just going to keep that one, container plugging along and use that one every time. Okay. All right. I'm going to take off. I'll be turning back on the music and chopping this video and posting it, and then posting to YouTube the previous video. If you have questions, just a note, you can watch the stream on YouTube and on Twitch right now. Anytime. It seems to be working just fine now. So for those of you who who don't necessarily have access to Twitch, you can do that. If there's other questions with regard to stuff that I just won't discuss right now, but right now the stream is dual streaming to both. And appreciate the votes of confidence there from LTN Bob. And I'm just going to go ahead and say goodbye.